Hi friends, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Here's what we're discussing today. When I first started looking at this case, I was relatively convinced that Jennifer Crumbley shouldn't be on trial because she didn't pull the trigger and she didn't buy the gun. The person who bought the gun was the dad, and he bought a 9mm handgun. Assertedly, he bought it for himself. He supposedly bought 22 handguns, 22 caliber handguns for his son. And that was the testimony of the witness who came in from the gun store.
So what I'm going to do is go through some exhibits with you. They'll be on the screen in front of you. These are all stipulated to. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is exhibit 24. This is, do you recognize this as a receipt from the store you work at?
Yes.
Okay. This is June the 15th, 2021. Do you see the date?
Yes.
All right. And the purchaser is James Robert Crumbley.
Yes.
And it has his address. And it has the item purchase. And that's a Cobra Classic for $180 total.
Yes.
And that's actually a 22 Derringer pistol. Is that correct?
Yes.
24 has been admitted, I believe, with stipulation.
I believe that Ms. Smith was willing to stipulate to 24 to 30. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 are admitted. So.
Thank you, Jeff. This is exhibit 25 right here. It says pistol sales record. Can you tell us about that, please?
So each time that a pistol is sold, we have to provide the customer with a pistol record. They are given those, and they are instructed to have those dropped within 10 days of the purchase.
Okay. Now, this has a description of the pistol, is that right?
Yes.
So it says, this is the Cobra Classic we just saw the receipt for. Do you see that on there?
Yes.
Okay, and it says pistol shot in the number 2. What does that mean?
It's a 2-shot.
Okay, so it's a small handgun?
Yes.
And barrel length 2.25, is that in inches?
Yes.
Okay. It says purchase transfer date is June the 16th of 2021, whereas the receipt was June the 15th, 2021. Can you tell us what happened there?
So I believe that Mr. Crumbley may have gotten a delay on June 15th, and he had a proceed either later in the day on June 15th, or he may have gotten a proceed early morning on June 16th.
But as I have listened to the evidence and watched some of the evidence that's been presented, particularly the fact that Mom went with the boy to the range and helped him shoot the 9mm and knew that he was essentially training with the 9mm, and then failed to take the necessary precautions to lock up that handgun. I am much more firmly convinced that this prosecutor has nailed the case for her being essentially guilty of negligent homicide. So here we have Mom and the boy at the range. So she knows that he's using this 9mm pistol and training with it.
Special Agent, can you explain to the jury what's happening right now, if you know?
Yeah, right now, the shooter is loading ammunition into the magazines.
Now, at this point, he had the gun for one day?
Yes, approximately around exactly 24 hours.
Okay. And do you see a lock anywhere in that case, or next to the gun or the case?
No.
Further evidence of negligence.
So in this particular gun range, there is surveillance camera equipment. I don't believe went back past September 25th, which is why there wasn't surveillance video for the previous visits.
Okay. So what's happening right now?
So that is the 6-hour pistol. I'm going to call that the stand. as well as a loaded magazine, and now the shooter is placing a target on the cardboard before sending it back down range.
Now, it's perhaps noteworthy that he didn't put a silhouette target on there, so he's not shooting at what could potentially be a person. But still, Mom's there. She sees that he is loading the gun, capable of loading the gun, and shooting the gun. And that should tell her something, and she should see the smile on his face as he's doing this. Indeed, during the trial, the agent who is presenting here at the testimony suggests that he sees a smile as the young man is shooting this pistol. And generally speaking, if you get a gift, it's okay to smile when you use it, but I think this is probably one of those things that goes very badly against the defense in this case. I've said on here before that if you own a handgun and you leave it in a car, you are essentially contributing to criminality, because the way that criminals get handguns is they break into cars and steal them. And you know, if you've got an NRA sticker on the back of your car or a USCCA sticker on the back of your car, that is an open invitation to thieves to come look in your car and see if they can find a firearm. And it's a good way to get your window broken out, by the way. Because, you know, they're not just going to be satisfied with, oh darn, you know, the car is locked. They're going to break the window out. They're going to get that gun. That's how thieves think. That's how criminals behave. And similarly, if you simply trust a 15-year-old boy who apparently had emotional issues, and boy did he ever have emotional issues, to not take a 9mm handgun that is unsecured and take it to school and shoot people, well, you are a negligent parent, you're a negligent gun owner, and you are the kind of gun owner that people like me, who are legitimate gun owners, who safeguard our weapons, who secure our weapons, you are the kind of person that I do not respect. Now, I said before, at the beginning of this, I wasn't convinced that Ms. Crumbley would necessarily be the person who was primarily at fault. But parenting, particularly in a two-parent family, is a team job. Now, this is the team here. Apparently, they all had their hair done by the same hairdresser. This particular team, Mom and Dad, did not do a good job of assessing their child's emotional state. Now, when my kids went to school, particularly when they went to high school, we had breakfast in the morning, and we talked. And when they went to school, I knew how they were feeling. And because I believe very strongly in talking with my children, I could be reasonably certain that my children were not going to go, take a hatchet to school and chop somebody's hand off, or take a gun to school and shoot somebody. They sure weren't going to do that, because at that time, I did not own any firearms in the house that they could get a hold of. So when I see that somebody buys a handgun for their child, teaches them to use their handgun, teaches them to use not only the .22 handgun that they bought for them, but the 9mm gun that they assertedly bought for themselves, that convinces me that there's an issue. Now, I want to be clear that according to the trial testimony, they bought this 9mm gun for him. Now, when a parent buys a firearm for a child, they have to go in and sign the paperwork and buy the firearm. They can later gift it to the child. However, a child cannot lawfully possess on his own a 9mm pistol. Nobody under the age of 21 can possess a 9mm pistol on their own. They have to be in the presence of a parent or a guardian when they possess that pistol. And the idea that you would leave it where they could get it and possess it in violation of law is, again, another one of those indications of just how negligent they really were here. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear here. There's no reason not to teach a child how to use a firearm. But that assumes the child is emotionally and mentally healthy. And if you can't tell that your child is not emotionally and mentally healthy, then you shouldn't be buying firearms for anybody in that family. I would point out that on the day of the shooting, this child sent texts to his parents, particularly to his mother, begging her to send a return text. And she didn't do that until it was too late. The texts that she sent don't do that after he'd already shot the place up. It was a little bit like closing the barn door after the horse had already escaped. Now, this has been a very stressful trial for the defense attorney in this case.
Just one thing I think is important. I asked this court to instruct counsel to show the appropriate decorum in this particular case. The jokes indicating I'm going to kill myself in a joking manner. I'm drinking 5 bottles of wine.
It's just there are parents who had their children murdered in this courtroom, and we are the people who communicate with them after we leave
I
here.
said something about wine because I was looking at her exhibit and it was teetering, and I was trying to nicely suggest that I would like you.
But making a joke about killing yourself in this courtroom at this time, I understand.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean it
Stop
like
yelling
that.
I don't
I
want
did
to
not mean it like that, and they know I didn't mean it like that.
Okay.
We're responding to literally just sitting here, the amount of messages we get from victims in the community, and I just think just to be an abundance of respect and caution, if we could just not say things like that. I'm not accusing anyone of any malice or any bad intent. I'm just asking that we just not engage in that, because this is hard enough for the people who are sitting here now and who will be sitting here next
I
week.
understand. It's very hard.
Your Honor, I am not joking around about anything.
Okay, I think it was a slip of the tongue. It was a slip of the tongue, right? Emotions are running high. We also, a lot of people are saying mean things about the shooter,
But Your Honor, I do want to make a point. I'm not making an objection because my emotions are running high. In fact, I'm not having an emotional response here. I am simply asking that we be respectful to victims. That's it.
Your Honor, I am being respectful. So that is implying I'm being disrespectful. Me saying I'm going to kill myself, I didn't mean in any way to offend
I know you didn't.
these
I know
families.
you didn't. It was a slip of the tongue. She's just.
It was absolutely not related to them.
I know.
This shooting is awful. It's the prosecution that's parading all of this up here and putting
Parading?
the
The
victims
shooting
through
is the
this.
result of the defendant's gross negligence. That is the case.
They are the ones putting the
Okay,
victims
everybody
through
needs-
re-seeing all of
everybody
this
needs to
over
go
and
home.
over and
Your Honor,
over.
Whoa! Everybody needs to go home.
Anytime a judge has to tell everybody to go home, then both sides have really lost control of their emotions. Now, this is a very emotional case. It's emotional for the defense. It's emotional for the prosecutors. The prosecutors are out there representing the people who were hurt, the people who were killed, the people whose lives are never going to be the same. Tomorrow we'll look at the testimony of one of the teachers who was shot in the arm. But at the end of that testimony, they reveal something that's really important. And I want to make sure everybody understands that anytime there's a gunfight, anytime somebody gets shot with a firearm, there is emotional, mental, physical trauma that is not something you can slap a Band-Aid over. So I think the prosecutor was right to call out the insensitive remarks. And I think the young lady who is representing the defendant here is overmatched and outgunned and really has not gotten a lot of help in terms of her defense. And I think that's making her do things that maybe she probably shouldn't do. I have a great deal of compassion for her. You know, it's difficult to represent somebody where things are going in the way that they're going here. Now, when you honestly believe that that person is guilty and you're just trying to do your constitutional duty, that's a little different than when you may believe that and have great sympathy for this mom who the defense attorney may honestly believe that the defense the defendant here is not guilty of any crime. And if that's the case, then the stress of that weighing down on her is showing. She needs to seek help from her partners. She needs to seek help from the court. And she needs to sit down and have an honest conversation with the prosecutors and say, look, what can we do to reduce the amount of, to reduce the temperature in the room? That's what we need to do. This is a really tragic case. There's so many people who were hurt as a result of it. And I think it is, even if they do not get a conviction, even if they don't get a conviction of the mom and they just get a conviction of the dad, I don't care what the outcome here is. It was absolutely the right decision to prosecute these people, because you want to make sure that people realize that if they do something completely negligent like this, letting a kid with emotional issues have access to a handgun, well, you need to suffer the consequences. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have the opportunity today, do something nice for someone. And perhaps say a prayer for defense attorneys in this situation, because they need all the help they can get, and they have a lot on their shoulders. Thanks again for watching. Please catch me down here at the beach again next.
If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.